Hello all and welcome to Cloudworthy's Think Like a Manager. So if you're someone who is preparing for techno managerial certification like CASSP or CCSP, or if you're preparing for any managerial level certification like ISACAS, CASM, CASR, CRISC, one of the key skills that will determine your success is how to think like a manager. When a problem is presented to you, when a scenario or a challenging situation is presented to you, how much you think like a manager and address that is something that is measured in all these exams. Forget about all the certifications. If you're someone who is aspiring to be an effective manager, this thinking will definitely not only help you but also your organization in the long run. So we are going to discuss on how to think like a manager, how to select the most appropriate option, and stay tuned till the end. We have also jotted down five key tips that you have to remember to imply this managerial approach. So let's start with the first question. So this is think like a manager question 1. Your organization's patching process has suffered delays, leading to repeated security vulnerabilities. A critical zero-day exploit has been reported requiring immediate attention. The IT team is debating on how to proceed and what should be the primary action. So the key word here is a zero-day exploit and primary action. So these are the two keywords, right? And the word primary actually defines the context of the question, which means the word primary denotes the end goal. So we are not just looking for a next step, or we are not looking for the temporary step, but we are actually looking for a permanent solution, right? The primary goal of applying a patch is to move the organization to a better security posture before applying the patch, right? So that's the primary goal. So we should focus on the end goal here, and this is one of the important things that you have to consume as a manager, right? When you think like a manager, you should not just focus only on the immediate short term steps to contain the incident, but we should look for the long term picture. You need to think, you need to have the vision to think on applying the patch after like 1 week or after 1 month, right? What would be the organization's security posture would be. Okay. And when we go through the options also as part of exam tips, my suggestion is always start from the last option and work it out till the first option. Generally when we take from option A, right, we generally tend to overlook option C and option D, right? It's just a implicit bias. So rather what we can do is we can start from option D and work it out till A, right? So I'll start with option D. Notify users about vulnerability and let them patch manually. Ideally, this is not a very good solution because we are giving the patch management work to the employees. So the employee may be busy, employee may not be available, and it will become like patch management team's responsibility to actually follow up with the team and get that done. Until the patch is applied, organization will still be at risk, right? So it's not a good solution, I would say. Second is wait until industry leaders apply the patch before rolling it out. Again, so do we need to depend on a industry leader or an external company for your patch management process? Ideally, no, right? So the patch that is very critical for you, that may impact your critical systems, may not be the same for the industry leader, right? So it is not advisable to depend on anyone else for your own patch management process. So these two options are distractors and they are removed. Let's go into option B, which is deploy the patch immediately to critical systems. In a way it kind of makes sense, right? So you already have some you know uh, patch processes, like there are some delays, but still this is a zero-day vulnerability, it is a critical vulnerability, and we want to secure our systems. So as soon as we get the patch, we can roll it out to the critical systems, if not for the entire systems. So in that way our critical systems will be patched with all the latest patches, and it will be able to secure from this zero-day vulnerability. So this makes sense. I'm parking it for now. And the last option is testing the patch in a sandbox before full deployment. Okay, so the difference between option A and option B is option B is deploying without doing any testing because it is a zero-day vulnerability and we want to secure our critical systems. Option A says test it in a sandbox, wait for the testing results and then do the deployment. Right? So this is also a very critical option. So we have to select between A and B. So that's where the keyword primary will now play the difference, right? Primary, it is talking about the end goal, right? It is talking about the end goal. What is the end goal of a patch management as a manager, right? Organization should be in a better security posture after applying the patch compared to applying the patch, right? Before applying the patch and after applying the patch, the organization should be in a better security posture. If I deploy the patch now, it may without testing, it may fix the security risk, but it may impact other components, right? I'm doing it without any testing, without understanding its impact. So some of the components may like may stop working, right? That may impact, in my long run, right? Which may put my organization in a riskier situation compared to testing the patch and find working. It is delayed, but still it will give me a better solution. So the answer in this case is option A, testing the patch before full deployment. Second question, after multiple security breaches, incident response times remain slow. So even after multiple security breaches, the incident response time in the organization is slow. The cybersecurity team struggles to detect and contain threats efficiently, leading to business disruptions, which actually means the cybersecurity team is unable to fix the issues on time, right? Which is leading to business disruptions. What is the best strategic improvement that you can do? Okay, the keyword is best. So out of all these options, we need to find the option which will give us the best solution, right? And then again, as a manager, should not just be short-sighted. We should look at the long-term vision. Okay, we'll start with option D. Focus on resolving incidents rather than prevention measures. Obviously, it's a wrong approach, right? We should try to prevent the incident from happening as much as possible rather than resolving it. Okay, so prevention is always better than cure, especially in cybersecurity world. Invest in AI driven threat detection and automated containment. So involving automation. So wherever we are trying to involve automation, it is a very good use case. So I'm going to park it for now. So it can be a very good contender to be an answer. So involving an AI driven threat detection and automated containment. Increase staffing for first response time. So obviously this also makes sense, right? So we have like you know security breaches are happening, team is unable to um, like detect and contain on time. So should we increase the staffing? That's a good consideration. But if you give more thought, just by increasing the staff, right, issue may not be able to fix. That is not addressing the whole issue, right? The whole picture is we need to bring up some strategic improvement, and increasing staff is only one of the workarounds, right? It's not like you cannot keep increasing the staff. So today I have like 100 threads that are rising in a week, so I'm having a 10 people team. So in future it may be like 500. So I cannot keep increasing my team strength proportional to the number of incidents that's getting raised. So in a way, this is not a good solution to our problem currently. The last option is develop a structured incident response plan with a predefined roles. So um, this is a good option again, right? So instead of uh, if you have a very good plan, if you have laid out all the roles and responsibilities, if you have called out all the roles and responsibilities and the ownership has been assigned and an SLA has been assigned, if we have a proper plan, then we can easily streamline the team to adhere to the plan. Okay, so there are like now two options that are standing out. One is developing a structured incident response plan with predefined roles and invest in AI driven threat detection and automated containment. While investing in AI threat detection is very important, it may not solve or it may not give you any strategic improvement to the organization. It's only a new tool that we are just purchasing and we are deploying to improve the incident response process. Right? It is happening only at the operations level, but at the strategic level, if you want to make an improvement, you have to lay out the plan. Right? You have to call out the plan, you have to call out the SLA, you have to call out the roles and responsibilities, and make sure that the team is um, trained on that and they are adhering to that. Okay, so the answer here is also A. Develop a structured incident plan with predefined roles and responsibilities. Okay, so this is how we need to think like a manager. We should not be someone who is trying to fix the problem. So option C actually talks about fixing the problem. A technical engineer, right, will fix the problem, right? But you as a manager should always fix the process. Yes, I can, an engineer can always fix the problem, but a manager will fix the process. So if you fix the process, even if this AI is not giving the result, you will be still be able to mitigate. You will be still be able to work efficiently, right? And it can be even if your team members are not there, if your team members are completely replaced by another new team, you, the incident response will still work as expected. So as a manager, one, always have a long-term vision, right? And second, focus on fixing the problem rather than the fixing the process rather than the problem. So moving on to think like a manager, question 3. The cloud environments are frequently experiencing misconfigurations resulting in service disruptions. The IT team conducts manual checks after failures and adjusts individual settings. What is the best approach to fix this issue? So there is a cloud environment which is experiencing misconfigurations, which is obvious because it is ephemeral, loading, right? So ephemeral is temporary. So today I may use a VM, and once I return it, it can be assigned to someone else. So these are all like ephemeral virtualized configurations. So obviously, like there can be misconfigurations which are resulting in service disruptions. So they are doing a manual checks after failures, and they are adjusting the settings. What is the best approach? So the keyword is best. Okay, only update configurations when performance issues are reported. Not a good solution. We need to think proactively. Manager must think proactively and in a long term, and should fix the process rather than the problem. Okay, create a team dedicated to fixing misconfigurations as they happen. Again, having a team to happen, that is again fine. Again, this is also not a proactive approach. This is only a reactive approach, right? You are dedicating a team to fix misconfiguration. How can I prevent that misconfiguration from happening? So that is what a manager should worry about, right? Implement standardized security baselines for all configurations. This is a good option. I'll park it, right? Standardize, if I have a standardized security baseline, if I can apply that to all the deployments, then it can uh, prevent the misconfigurations or the configuration drips. Right? And the last is conduct manual configuration reviews before each deployment. Right? So do a manual configuration review before each deployment. It is a good practice, but it is not possible every time. And even if you do a manual configuration, you cannot ascertain that all the configurations are accurate. There can be a human error, right? So again, this is also a good, not a good option. So the only option here which is proactive and which will certainly address the problem is option B, implementing standardized security baselines for all the configurations. So the three attributes of manager so far are: one is to have a long-term vision, second is to be proactive, right? So we should think of proactive and preventive solutions rather than reactive or corrective controls. The last one is to always focus on fixing the process rather than the problem. Think like a manager, question 4. So organization frequently encounters delay in patching, leading to prolonged exposure of systems to security risks. What is the most common solution to avoid the delays? Okay, they are asking about most. right? Which is applied by all the organizations, right? By the majority of the organizations. So that is where the most will come. So prioritize critical patches manually and address less urgent ones afterwards. It's very important to have a risk-based approach or a severity-based approach where you prioritize critical patches, but the problem is you are applying manually. So if it is one system or two system, you can apply manually. What if there are like 200 systems, right? It is time consuming. uh, it is, you can introduce some errors. Above all that, till the time the system will be exposed to that vulnerability, so not a good solution. Enhance training for those tasked with patching responsibilities, providing skill based training to the team, right? Again, it's a good option, it is must, it's a good to have. Again, will that directly improve their patching speed? I don't know. It may not be, right? Just by giving a training we cannot, you know uh, kind of apply the patch immediately. A critical patch you cannot immediately apply. It will help them to apply it correctly, but will it help them to apply it faster or sooner? I am not sure. So again, that's not a good solution. Recruit more personnel to expedite manual patch application. Again, adding more team members may not resolve this issue, right? Adding more team members may not resolve, it may add more risks, right? There will be more risks that may be added. Okay, this is also there. Let's see the last option: implement automation for patch deployments with set schedules. So the problem here is, right, manual like patching is causing delay, and a better solution, right? Again, if you take this option, this is also kind of a good one. So adding more team members, right, so that you can increase the manual patching. But will it work in the long run? It may not be the case, right? As I mentioned, number of patches may increase, number of systems may increase, so you cannot keep expanding your team, right? So rather, I would suggest, instead of this, so this is a very good short term containment solution, but this is the proper solution, appropriate solution for the problem. Okay, so again, option A will be the answer for this. So moving on to think like a manager, question 5. So a financial services company experiences frequent system outages affecting critical transactions. The IT team resolves each outage as quickly as possible, but failures keep occurring. What is the best solution that addresses all the underlying issues? So frequent system outages are happening, and incident response team is fixing it, but failures keep occurring. How can I fix it? Right? So I have a system, it is failing, incident team is fixing it, again system is failing. Incident team is fixing it, again system failing. It is keep failing again and again. So how I as a manager I can fix it? Okay. So define change management process to ensure stable updates without failures. It's a good solution, right? Applying change management process to ensure stable updates without failures. But only thing is, it may affect critical transactions. So you cannot wait for a stable update without failure. It may impact the critical transactions. Okay. Strengthen monitoring tools to improve system reliability and prevent disruptions. Again, uh, it can help you. It is not addressing the entire problem. It is helping you only with the continuous monitoring. You are checking the availability, and you are checking the availability, and you are ensuring that the systems are running. But it is not directly fixing my problem of outages and fixes failures. Third is implement proactive problem management to identify and eliminate root cause. So this is where a manager's thinking will come into picture, right? Instead of I am applying or fixing the problem each and every time, again an outage comes, again the team fixes the problem. If the failures are happening frequently, we need to take a step back and try to investigate and find the root cause. Because if we find the root cause, then we will be able to prevent all the future outages. So it's a very good option. So if your system is failing, right, frequently, then it is very important to do a problem management whose objective is to find the root cause and do that root cause and find it and then try to eliminate that root cause. One of the solutions to eliminate the root cause is to update the policy, right? Managerial policy or updating any tools, right? So find the root cause. So it's very good solution. And last is develop structured incident response workflows to detect and resolve. So this talks about detection and resolving outages. But as a manager, as I mentioned, we should be proactive and we need to try to prevent it. Right? Our first priority should be to prevent the errors from happening, prevent the issues from happening. So this is also not a good solution for this problem. So we are left with B and D here. One is to define change management process to ensure stable updates without failure, and this is not directly answering the problem, right? So the answer is B here. So if there are frequent errors that are keep happening again and again, so it is better to do a problem management, identify the root cause and eliminate that root cause. Okay. So this is again talks about the managerial principle of fix the process rather than the problem. Right? Instead of fixing the temporary problem, like the IT team so far, like they were fixing only the problem. Right? There is an outage, they are restarting the servers. Right? But rather, as a manager, we should enforce them to fix the process. They need to do a deep dive. They need to investigate why that outage is happening, and they need to come up with a solution which will not only like prevent now, but also it will help us in the long run, right? So it will also prevent the incident from occurring again, right? So that is why problem management is very important. The next question: several third-party vendors handling critical data failed security audits, leading to non-compliance issues. So we are talking about third party here. The IT teams address each vendor separately, but similar violations keep occurring. So IT teams are addressing each of the vendor compliances, but similar violations are occurring. What is the best strategy to prevent ongoing security risk? Right? How can I prevent the ongoing security risks? So limit access to sensitive data for external vendors. It's a good solution. You can limit access. You can increase security monitoring for high risk vendors, and you can, this is also correct, okay, increase security monitoring. So if it is a high risk vendor, then there should be a continuous and increased security monitoring. Makes sense. And then terminate contract with vendors that fail audits repeatedly. Again, very important, right? To if someone is not complying, it is very important to um, it is very important to terminate the contracts. We should be written in the contract so that we are not getting any vendor lock-in risks, right? So it's very important to call that out in the contract also. The last one is enforce a standardized vendor security assessment framework. Okay, enforce a standardized vendor security assessment framework. Okay, this is also correct. So which one should I select? That's where the keyword will play an important role. It is saying best. Out of all this, which will be the best? So in these kind of questions where you are finding two or more like correct options. So all these options are correct. Option D is correct. You need to limit access to sensitive data. You need to increase monitoring for high risk vendor. You need to terminate contact with vendors for non-compliance. And you have to enforce the standardized vendor security assessment framework also. So in those questions where you have like two or more correct answers, as a manager, we need to apply that one solution which covers all the other solutions also, right? Look for the option that covers all these other solutions also. So if you go for only limiting access to sensitive data, then I may not know what will happen for monitoring of high risk vendor. I may not know what will happen if the vendor is not compliant, right? So instead, always select an option which encompasses all the other options also. So in this question, having a standardized vendor security assessment framework means it includes terminating the contracts for non-compliance, increasing the security for monitoring for high-risk vendors, and limiting access to sensitive sensitive data for the external vendors. So all the three options are kind of covered in option A itself. And whenever you find an option which encompasses other options, which covers all the other options, it is always better to select that option. So by taking this action, it will by default cover all the other options also. Okay. So uh, this is how you need to start think like a manager. Select that one option which will cover the other actions also. Okay. So the answer is A. Okay, think like a manager. Question 7. Your company is expanding its cloud infrastructure and security teams need to prevent unauthorized access to sensitive data while ensuring efficient user experience. So we need to prevent unauthorized access to sensitive data while at the same time we need to ensure efficient user experience also. Which option is most useful solution that is integrating these principles? Okay. First one, we'll start with option D, where like regular access reviews to detect and remove excessive permissions. So to prevent unauthorized access, it is very important to have a regular access reviews. Correct. Zero trust architecture to continuously verify and access across all the layers. It's also very important. So when you are implementing zero trust, you will verify at the identity layer, you will verify at the data layer, verify at the application layer, you will verify at the network layer, right? All this will be considered. So again, it's a very good solution to prevent unauthorized access while also ensuring user experience. And then role-based access control. This is used to restrict access to sensitive data. For restricting access to sensitive data, we need role-based access control and for multi-factor authentication to prevent unauthorized logins. So all these are correct options. And what is the principle that we have? If we have all the options are correct, then it is always better to select the option that encompasses all the other options. So in this case, right, a multi-factor is also part of zero trust. Role-based access control is also part of zero trust. Access review is also part of zero trust. By implementing zero trust architecture, we can incorporate MFA, we can incorporate RBAC, we can incorporate access reviews. We will not just prevent the unauthorized access to data, but also ensure efficient user experience. So for all these terms, zero trust architecture will be a better solution. So this is how a manager will select. If they select only MFA or only RBAC, the other solution may not be, others may not be applied, right? If I go for only MFA, then access review may not be in picture, right? If I select only access review, then RBAC may not be in picture. So whenever you as a manager, when a challenge is presented to you, uh, select the solution that is including all the other solutions also, encompasses all the other solutions as well. So that is how you can think like a manager. Go to the next question, think like a manager. Question 8. An e-commerce company has noticed a surge in phishing attempts targeting its employees. These emails appear legitimate, tricking staff into entering login credentials on fake websites or downloading malware. What is the best solution in addressing phishing risks? So the question here talks about best solution, right? So see, when we talk about solution, right, we talk about controls. There are three different types. One is administrative, second is technical, third is physical controls. So when it comes to cloud, generally physical control may not be our responsibility, but if it is an on-prem, all the three will be our responsibility. And in this question, they haven't called out whether it is a physical on-prem or a cloud. Okay, and as a manager, most of the time we will be dealing with administrative controls. Right? We want to fix the processes to update the plan, update the procedure, right? So most of the time we'll think about fixing this. Okay, so now with this insight, we'll look into the options. So one is monitor network activity. So wherever you don't have an administrative, then you will think of a physical. Wherever you don't have technical, wherever the physical security is needed, then you will deploy physical. So monitoring network activity to detect compromised accounts. Um, so again, it's a technical control to detect compromised accounts. Again, it is not a proactive solution, it's a reactive solution. You are detecting the compromised accounts. So as a manager, we will always look for proactive and preventive controls. Okay. Again, deploy a DMARC to prevent email spoofing. Okay, a good solution, a good technical solution. If you don't have anything at the administrative or managerial level, then we can go for that. Again, conduct employee security awareness training to recognize phishing attempts. It's a very good solution, right? Where we talk about training, right? Instead of, see, you can deploy even the state of the art, very latest technology, right? But in a long run, that will be a older technology, right? And there will be new types of attacks that can happen, which cannot be controlled or detected or contained by the technology that you have just deployed. So always the better solution is to educate the people who are operating it rather than the technical control themselves. Last is enhance email filtering to block more malicious messages. So in very technical solution, this is also good. But when we talk about the best solution, it is very important that we go for a solution that works in the long run, right? The thing that works in the long run is to have an employee security training, because I can deploy a uh, latest technology now which can prevent all the latest phishing attempts, detect all the prevent all the latest phishing attempts. But after 1 year, whatever I have deployed will become a older technology. Whatever attacks, right, they keep evolving. There'll be a new technology which can easily circumvent your control that you have mentioned. So in those cases, again a phishing attack may happen. So the better solution in this case for a long term vision is to conduct an employee security awareness training. Make the employees aware of the risks. Make the employees detect the phishing risks. Okay, so that is more important. Okay, so the answer is B in this case. Alright, so think like a manager. Question 9. A healthcare company is migrating its application to cloud, and as employees begin accessing cloud-based systems remotely, the risk of unauthorized access and credential theft increases. Which is the most useful to prevent unauthorized access effectively? Okay, the question talks about most useful and preventing unauthorized access. Log and monitor access activities to detect suspicious behavior. So this talks about detection, while the question talks about prevention. So that's not the case. Conduct regular access reviews to remove unnecessary permissions. Again, this may look like a good use case, but it cannot prevent it. Okay, so this is also again access reviews or kind of a detection mechanism, not a prevention, right? Leverage role-based access control to limit excessive privilege. So it's a very good use case. So if I have role-based access control, it means I can control the authorization now, right? Access part will be controlled. So it's a very good option. Implement MFA to verify your user identity before login. Again, very important, right? If I have an MFA, so though my username and password is compromised, right, through a phishing attack or through a social engineering attack, if someone is able to steal my credentials, even in that case they will not be able to access my um, data, access my systems, right? So correct answer. So in this question, if you can see, you have two correct answers, two equally weighted correct answers, right? You need MFA and you need RBAC. And typically in all the enterprises, you will have both these solutions. You'll have an MFA, along with that you'll also have an RBAC. But that's where the question says, what is most useful? So how will we answer this question? They want the most useful, and both MFA and RBAC are very important solutions. In those cases, as suggested by Andrew Ramdayal in his 50 CASSP questions, it's a must-watch video if you're preparing for CASSP. As mentioned by him, right? Whenever you have two options which are equally weighted, and if you want to find the one which has most impact, you should follow the simple trick, which means now if the manager selects MFA, then RBAC will no longer be in picture, right? Or if the manager selects RBAC, then MFA will not be in picture. So we will consider these two scenarios and try to find which scenario will cause more damage to the organization, and that will be the one which is most useful. Okay, without which solution the organization will face most impact, that will be the most useful solution to prevent the unauthorized access. So let's apply that trick here. So scenario 1, I'm a manager selects MFA, right, which means RBAC is not in picture. So user logs in, right, and then they will any user can log in, but they will be verified by MFA. Once after their MFA is passed, now they will be able to get into the system. This is scenario 1. I'm applying the second scenario where manager selects RBAC, right? Manager selects RBAC, and if a user logs in, they will be able to see the data that is available to them, but there are no MFA, right? So these are the two things. In both these cases, if we select option MFA, then I can restrict them before even they enter into the system, right? Even if my password is leaked due to like phishing attack or social engineering, even though they have my credentials, again they will not be able to get into the system, right? There are no data that is accessible to them, right? But if I go only with RBAC and if I'm not choosing MFA, if a user is stealing my credentials using like again phishing attack, they'll be getting to the system. They will have access to the limited data to which the privileges already assigned, privileges assigned to that particular role, right? So option A, if I go with option A, then no access. If I go with option B, now it is limited access. So now I can prioritize between both these, right? But typically in an organization, you need to have both MFA as well as RBAC. But if you want to find out which is most useful, then apply the small trick. And now you can see like by applying MFA, there will be no access. But by applying RBAC alone, it will be limited access. So in that case, I can identify that option A is correct. By implementing MFA, I can restrict all the unauthorized access. Okay, so this is how we need to apply our managerial thinking in terms of exam. Like the one which you select, if you have two correct answers, select one and imagine how the organization will impact without the second one. And find the one which is having most impact and select your answers accordingly. So the last question in this series of Think Like a Manager is, how can a multinational corporation protect sensitive business data on personal and company issued mobile devices given the rising risks of data exposure due to lost, stolen or compromised devices? It's one of the very standard managerial level question, right? You have a personal device in which you have like company data, right? And how can you protect that company data in the personal device or organization provided device, right? When the even when the device is lost or stolen or compromised. Okay, start with the doing, again protect or prevent, right? So doing regular security audits. So this is audit is again a detection mechanism, so it will not be applicable. restrict access to sensitive data based on user roles. Um, this good solution, but it is not. What if my data is lost? What if my device is compromised? In that case, I'll be able to access limited data to which I have access to. So again, not a solution, not a solution. The next one, implement remote wipe capability through MDM solutions. It's a very good technical solution, right? Applying remote wipe capability through MDM solutions. I'm going to park it. It's a correct answer. Apply encryption to protect sensitive business data. Again, very important. I'm applying encryption so that even if my data device is lost, even someone steals my device, they are entering my PIN code, will not be able to access the sensitive data, right? So these are the two correct answers again. So whenever you have two correct answers, what is the trick that we must apply? Yeah, we should think like, if I go with option A, if manager selects option A, then manager B is not in picture. If I select option B, then option A is not in picture. But in a real enterprise scenario, we need to have both these solutions. You need to have an encryption, you need to have a remote wipe capability. But to identify which has most impact, right? Which has most impact, which is most useful, we need to apply this trick. Where like, if I go with encryption, I'll not go with MDM. If I go with MDM, I'll not go with encryption. So let's apply this scenario, right? So I'm applying, if I go with encryption alone, my data is encrypted. Even when my device is lost or stolen, my data is encrypted, right? And the hacker will not be able to break that encryption and steal my business data. Okay, so that is one. But if I go with remote, but my data will be there, present. There are like no remote web capabilities. My data will always be present, but it will be in an unreadable format. Okay. Now coming to option B, if I apply only MDM, right, then when my device is stolen, right, I'll report, the customer will report, user will report to the IT team, and IT team can wipe the data entirely, right? But between that time, right, once the device is lost and before that wipe happens, the data will be available in plain text, right? Because no encryption is there. Because if we go with MDM, then we are not applying encryption. Okay, so now if you go through these two scenarios, you can know that if I just go for MDM alone, then the time when the device lost, when the device is lost, and the time before the wipe has happened, in between that time between these two scenarios, the data will be available in plain text, which will put the data at risk. So it is not a very good solution. Hence, you have to go for encryption. If I go for encryption, then if I go for encryption, my data will always be encrypted. Even when the device is lost, it will be in encrypted. Uh, Even if you don't have an MDM, the data will still be in encrypted and in an unreadable format. Okay, so encryption will be the most useful solution in this case compared to remote wipe capability. Again, if you take a look, right, MDM, remote wipe are the most sophisticated answers. So it is not the case like where the most sophisticated or words with jargons will be the correct answer. The simpler solutions can also be the answer, right? Applying a encryption is a very common solution, and that will be a good solution also. Okay, so these are the 10 questions that help you to think like a manager, and to summarize them as tips here. So focus on the long-term solutions, right? By fixing the process. Don't try to fix the problem right away. I'll always say like it's like getting a flat tire, right? One time when you get a flat tire, you can apply, a patch or gum, right? But you cannot keep applying the patches every now and then, right? Instead, you have to change the tire sometime. So that is fixing the process. Fix the process, identify the root cause and fix the process, right? Not just a problem alone. Second is, managerial control generally prefers proactiveness and preventive controls. Proactiveness, preventive controls, and they want to fix the process by updating the policies. Third, always try to select a solution or option that encompasses other solutions. Right? Go with zero trust, which has MFA as well as RBAC as well as access reviews. Right? So always look for the option that covers all the other options also. And tip 4, if there are two right answers, right, imagine which will have the most impact when the solution is not applied. So option A, if I go with option A, option B is not in picture. Will it be more impact? Will it give more impact to the organization? Or the other scenario where I'll go with option B, I'll not go for any option A. And what will be the impact? Whatever is giving the more impact, then that is the most useful solution. You have to select that particular solution. And last one, it's a general observation. So generally, if the question talks about input or design, it will be a answer will be around like policy or strategy, right? If it talks about how can I design effectively, how can I develop effectively, generally it will be in the process, it will be in the policies, right? And if the question talks about outcome, right, how can I ensure that my training is effective, right? How can I ensure this process is effective? Answer will talk about like training or metrics, empowering the user, providing user awareness training, like the phishing example, or metrics. So this is another common observation that you can just keep in mind, and by including all this, you will be able to master the managerial skills, and it will help you in turn to clear the exams also. So with this, we'll close this video. Thank you so much and all the best.